Doom is a massive property in the gaming world, with many entries spanning over 30 years, released on various platforms. So far we have covered all of the official classic Doom titles available on PC, but there's a subdivision of commercial Doom products that were never published by id Software. I touched on these games a bit when talking about the many Doom 2 expansions, but I honestly feel like they deserve their own video. Nobody really talks about these games and they've been lost to time. The lost episodes of Doom, Perdition's Gate, and How to Pay. These are the unofficial commercial Doom games. As I mentioned in the last part of this Doom retrospective, there were a couple of companies in the mid-90s that sold commercial Doom mods and WOD packs in stores. This is obviously illegal and shouldn't be done nowadays. Like, could you imagine somebody trying to sell a modded copy of GTA 5, for example? Anyway, the most notable of these companies was Wizardworks, who published Perdition's Gate and How to Pay, which were megawads / partial conversions for Doom 2. I say partially because they did add some textures and change some enemy designs, but for the most part, these two were just glorified level packs. I would include Hacks, Twitch and Kill in this video, but that is a total conversion of Doom and it's more like a standalone game only using the Doom engine. Hacks is more akin to games like Hexen, Heretic and Strife to name a few, which all use the Doom engine to make an original product, rather than simply being a Doom 2 megawad. Wizardworks were the ones that published Perdition's Gate and How to Pay, but these megawads were actually designed by Wraith Corporation, a team of map makers that consisted primarily of Team TNT members, the most famous of which being Tom Mustaine. Tom went on to design maps for TNT Evilution and the master levels, and originally Perdition's Gate was intended to be tacked on to Final Doom, but the window of opportunity closed for that. Then Wizardworks snatched up the project and released it alongside How to Pay, in which they are considered brother and sister games. Tom initially worked on Perdition's Gate with his father, and you can download the whole megawad on his site if you're interested. After Wizardworks released How to Pay and Perdition's Gate, they went on to publish the Duke Nukem 3D expansions, Duke It Out in DC, Duke Caribbean, and Duke Nuclear Winter, developed by Sunstorm Interactive and Simply Silly Software respectively. Wizardworks were eventually acquired by GT Interactive. Of course, GT Interactive would wind up being bought out by Infogrames, and the rest is history. It's very weird to think that Wizardworks would play a part in creating authorized add-ons for Duke 3D after they released unofficial Doom megawads and compilations. Oh yeah, forgot to mention that back in the day, Wizardworks also released several Doom mod compilation discs that would include like 1,000 levels ripped straight from the internet, most of which were absolutely shit. Wizardworks' D-Zone compilation series was the catalyst for id Software tacking on Maximum Doom with the master levels, but that was covered in my previous video. The bottom line is that both D-Zone and Maximum Doom suck, and are filled with garbage WOD files. Going back before the release of Perdition's Gate and How to Pay, there was another Doom WOD commercially available without the support from id Software, called The Lost Episodes of Doom. Along with video games and feature films, there have also been comic books and novels made based off of the Doom property. In 1995, there existed a publishing company called Cybex that went on and released the Lost Episodes of Doom book, written by Jonathan Mendoza, and it was unofficially packaged with a 24-level Doom WOD file of the same name. id Software had nothing to do with this project, and the book essentially acted as a strategy guide for the WOD. It also functioned as an instruction manual for Doom, giving you the basic information on the weapons, the items, and on how to install the game. The WOD's maps were designed by Christian Klei of Master Levels fame, as well as Bob Carter. Something I really like about the Lost Episodes book is that it provides the reader with actual maps of each level and some some insight on what Christian and Bob were thinking when making these levels. So I know that was a massive history dump about unofficial Doom products, but how do they actually play nowadays? Is there something of value in the lost episodes of Doom, Perdition's Gates, and Hell to Pay? Or are these just relics of the past that should be left alone? I believe starting with the lost episodes of Doom makes the most sense, considering the WOD and the book were released first. Aside from the questionable release tactic, the WOD itself is nothing special, and it reeks of mid-90s quality. Most of the maps aren't terrible, and I've definitely seen worse, but at the same time, the lost episodes of Doom is not worth playing. There are 3 episodes to choose from in this WOD: Massacre on Callisto, The Killing Fields of Io, and Hell's Gate, The Red Spots. Each of these episodes are based on one of Jupiter's moons, and they don't feature any secret levels surprisingly. There's just 8 levels per episode, totaling up to 24. Though I said before that the lost episodes of Doom is nothing to write home about, E1M1 is at least a good starting level. The only annoying thing about this map is the 2 lost souls that just seem thrown in for no reason, but regardless, E1M1 is pretty well designed, and I like the variety on display. There's a little maze section when locating the blue key, there's an outside area with rather narrow ledges, there's some demonic architecture in this secret, and this all makes for a solid map. Episode 1 is probably the most consistent set of this entire WOD, but that still doesn't make it great. E1M2 opens up the environment a little, and it's fine. I don't mind this one, but the level is kinda generic. You get the plasma rifle in this map, and while I find it weird that it would be hiding in the second level of the very first episode, it will help out later on. E1M3 is where the lost episodes of Doom takes a nosedive and becomes less than stellar. For one thing, you have to press on this computer to open up the door in order to progress, and that kinda sucks. Oh, and after that, you have to run across this long toxic waste corridor, but at least they make up for it with a soul sphere. Then you have to hop along these platforms that go down, and yeah, this just isn't fun to me. Moving on to E1M4, and this level is fucking bullshit for one specific reason. So you go through this door and you wind up in this large room here. They give you an invincibility power-up, which is basically a distraction. Your natural reaction is to get the invincibility and drop down, which is where you will encounter 6 fucking cyber demons and you're trapped. There's no way to get out of this pit, and when the invincibility runs out, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do but die from the damaging floor that's down there. What you're supposed to do is turn around from the platform where you dropped from, flick this switch, and that raises a bridge for you to grab the yellow key. The rest of the maps in episode 1 though are fairly mediocre. E1M5 is teleporter heavy and gives me Unholy Cathedral vibes. E1M6 is alright, but a bit dickish with the narrow toxic waste tunnels, and then E1M7 would be fine if the level ended after you defeat the Spider Mastermind, but no, you have to flick 10 million fucking switches first. As Christian Clay points out in the Lost Episodes of Doom book, E1M8 was the only level in the set that was directly based on a map from the original Doom. Both E1M8 from Doom 1 and the Lost Episodes of Doom feature a pentagram shape and a teleporter that sends you to a room where you die immediately. With the latter though, there is no fight with the Barons of Hell, probably because you fought a Spider Mastermind in the previous map. Let's carry on with episode 2's starting level, and to be honest, there's not much to talk about with this one. It's a decent enough map, and the only thing to really note is the awesome combination of the blood red sky and the brown building you are fighting through. E2M2 begins with a room full of boxes, and it looks a bit unappealing. The rest of the level is fine though, except for the annoying teleport puzzle. Episode 2 is the low point of the Lost Episodes of Doom, not because the maps are horrendous or anything like that, but because there's nothing to say about them. I will mention though that E2M4 is probably one of the best levels in the entire WoD, due to the small details they added in. The map takes place in a weapons testing facility, and it reminds me a lot of TNT Evilution's lunar mining project with its attention to detail. The level is packed with sleeping quarters, a fully kitted out bathroom area, and it even includes some hellish textures as well for added variety. We've reached the final stretch of the WoD with episode 3, and this is no doubt the worst set of maps in the game. Every level in this episode is so fucking big, and it's not packed with anything interesting. The maps just have bland open areas with barely any demons to fight, and it becomes really tedious to get from point A to point B. It almost feels like the map designers gave up and just thought they should pad out these levels with lackluster areas to explore. I mean, look at E3M1. Does this seem fun to go through? No, it's pitch black, and I feel like I solved the level's puzzle by accident. I guess that's why there's a strategy guide for this game, but real Doom guys don't need instructions. On top of each map's unnecessary size and boring combats, there's also a handful of mandatory secrets that hold keys in this episode, and that's one of the most infuriating things you can do. The only saving grace of this episode is E3M8, where it pulls a Warrens and remixes the first level of the WoD. I'm always a fan of that kind of stuff, and it really works here, with the pits in E1M1 being the location of the final boss. The lost episodes of Doom was an interesting product at the time, since they basically got away with selling a Doom mod in stores by tacking on a book. Cybex actually approached Christian and Bob first about using their levels for a retail release. I like the fact that Christian and Bob did contribute to the book by writing the drafts of the level guides, with Jonathan Mendoza polishing it up. As for the lost episode maps on their own, like I said, they're nothing special and don't really hold up to today's WoDs, but there are some highlights here and there. I especially like E1M1, E2M4, and E3M8. I think they're awesome and can hold their own. After the lost episodes of Doom was done and over with, Christian Clay got a job at LucasArts, and according to this interview, he hasn't created a Doom map since 1995. So this is me from the future speaking. If you want to play a WoD that captures the spirit of the original Doom, play Doom the way it did. It is extremely well designed, and the people involved should get a round of applause. Now let's talk about the two unofficial Doom megawads produced by Wizardworks software, Hell to Pay and Perdition's Gates. Both of these games feature new texture work and new music, but Hell to Pay also packs in swapped enemy and weapon sprites on top of custom intermission screens to tell its story. While yes, having new enemy designs is a nice addition, they kinda half-assed it because only a couple of them are changed. The Pinkies are now robots, and they make a much less satisfying sound when killed. The Mancubi are now these fucking blobs that I can't even make out what they actually are supposed to be, and the Imps probably have the only good redesign in the game. They look similar to regular Imps, but they're updated a bit, and it's awesome to see. The brand new textures in Hell to Pay range from pretty cool to something you'd see in MS Paints. Take the first level as an example. There's a section where rockets are shooting into the sky, and just look at them. How is this the best they can do when their updated Imp, for instance, looks way more detailed? Regardless of the game's graphics and textures, Hell to Pay's level design is not great in my opinion. Every level that I've played at least feels like an adventure with quite a bit of backtracking to find keys and open doors. Now this is standard Doom fare, and I don't mind these type of levels obviously, but when the same idea is done over and over and over, it gets really tedious really fast, and it makes the frustrating levels even more frustrating due to their long length. I only played up to map 10 because I had enough of these same adventure map layouts, and I feel like you need some palette cleansers here and there. I mean, look at a megawad like TNT Evilution. Sure, it has plenty of large maps with plenty to discover, but the game also has levels like Lunar Mining Project or Wormhole to break up the gameplay a bit. This is my main issue with Hell to Pay, and even though the levels might be amazing later on, they didn't need to make every map I've played so far into this stretched out explorathon. The actual level designs aren't awful or anything, and if you like these long-winded maps, then you'll get a ton of enjoyment from Hell to Pay. I personally think these types of levels start to drag when there's one after another, but that's just me. I know people love the adventure maps, and so do I, but nothing has grabbed me so far, and that's a shame. Maybe I'll come back someday to Hell to Pay and give it another shot, but I wasn't exactly eager to play more. And that's coming from someone who loves to play maps like Odyssey of Noises and Mount Erebus. Hell to Pay isn't terrible by any stretch, but it wasn't for me. I do respect the efforts on making all of the new textures, music, and the storyline that Hell to Pay follows though. Yeah, I've barely mentioned that Perdition's Gates and Hell to Pay actually have plots that are brought up before and after every level. I don't actually know whether each story is good or anything, mostly because I didn't pay attention to the intermission screens, but if you're into that sort of thing, then both of these megawads deliver. If Perdition's Gate was released as a part of Final Doom as it was originally intended to, then it would have been the second best megawad of the bunch. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think that Perdition's Gate is better than TNT Evilution, and while it doesn't reach Plutonia quality, there is a ton of Plutonia's DNA inside this wad. Although Hell to Pay focuses on drawn-out, open adventure map design, Perdition's Gate does the exact opposite and mostly features levels that are short, to the point, and sometimes quite punishing. I wasn't compelled to continue playing Hell to Pay and stopped at map 10, and I was initially going to be fair and only play up to map 10 for Perdition's Gate, but I got addicted and ended up beating the wad. You can blow through this game in an evening or two if you get the hang of it, and I highly recommend doing so. Perdition's Gate is really fucking good, and some highlights include map 7, map 8, map 15, map 17, map 21, and map 29. I love the way map 7 and map 8 connect as they are both set in a sewage system, and the transition between the two levels is almost seamless. As for map 15, there is a part where you need to teleport to this pocket universe of sorts, and it has a very interesting look. Map 17 and Map 21 are excellent little challenge maps that have some great combat encounters and set pieces. Oh, and then Map 29 feels like the perfect endgame stage as it throws everything at you. And if you've never played Perdition's Gate, then you are missing out, and if you love Plutonia, then I can't recommend this wad enough. My only real complaint is with the disappointing secret maps, since apart from this white texture gimmick, there's nothing really to note with them. Also, why is the final screen so fucking goofy looking? If this is what the Doom Marine actually looks like, then humanity is doomed. Just wave the white flag at the demons already. Apart from that end card, the new textures on display are not too distracting, and I got used to them after a while. I mean, how can I judge these new textures when I used to love those shitty Doom high resolution packs as a kid? Yeah, I actually thought this looked nicer than the 2D sprites that came in the base game. Perdition's Gate also has excellent music and rivals some of TNT Evilution's tracks. The point is that there's a lot to like with this wad, and while most of the level design is challenging and meant to test your skills, at the same time it's balanced due to each level's length. You're not spending ages searching for keycards in Perdition's Gates, and in that respect, it really feels like a spiritual successor to Plutonia. You can find this entire wad for free on Tom Mustaine's website, so go play it. And this has been the unofficial commercial Doom games, and even though their releases are questionable, they are still fascinating pieces of Doom history. Oh, and how can I forget Chex Quest? I've gotta say, out of all of these commercially released Doom games, Chex Quest is fucking awesome and has grown a cult following over the years. There's even Chex Quest 2 and 3, plus an HD remake on Steam, and that's all great to see. The goofy tone of Chex Quest games is so entertaining, and its distribution through Chex cereal boxes was genius. Alright, now the video's over. Next time, Doom 64.